stay right there because I will, and we got a great guest, a perfect guest actually to answer this, because I'm going to say something too. And this is one of the reporters, I can't remember who, followed up with Jerome Powell and said, I'm confused. I was listening to Jerome Powell. I was a little confused. He didn't sound as focused as maybe I would have liked him to be, but doesn't matter what I think. Let's bring in Richard Fisher, former Dallas Federal Reserve president, also a CNBC contributor, a senior advisor to Jeffries. Richard, good to see you. Thanks. Do you feel like Powell may be a little confused? And maybe it's not his fault. If so, you could say no, he's not. But when you've got AI out there, you've got this weird thing happening with jobs. And to Tim's point, you're coming off of 4 or 5 years where everything was kind of muddled up by COVID. I think we could forgive him if he is. Or am I wrong? Was he completely lucid today?
Look, I don't like the word confused. I thought he was quite honest. It's not clear in terms of the balance of risk, which he articulated. We have some opposite forces acting here. Obviously, inflation is running closer to the 3% level. And by the way, if that's the case, you should always have a positive real return. Otherwise, you hamper capital formation for businesses. So they're close to that presently as inflation is running. At the same time, and I thought he was pretty articulate on this, which is the reason that we have weak employment statistics, in addition to the revisions and all that kind of stuff, is because of, he didn't say it directly, but because of the fiscal policy and because of immigration policy. So I didn't hear any confusion. I just heard a great articulation. I want to say one thing, though. As far as Bowman is concerned and Waller, I was rather proud of them because they stuck to their sense of economic logic. And clearly, it's not just voting for 50 basis points this time, but for 5 cuts. It's very clear that Mr. Myron will only do what the president wants. And the best part about that, in my view, having been on that committee for 10 years, the way you win an argument is through persuasion and economic logic and presenting the data as you see it. He's having no influence whatsoever. And I think that's a good thing. We'll see how this evolves. He didn't have a chance to read the materials before the meeting. And we'll have to see when the transcript finally comes out how he behaved. And I assume that was civil.
Okay.
But the nice thing is he had no influence. He had no influence on the argument. And that's pretty clear. And projecting 5 cuts going forward, he's way out left field. Or should I say, way out in right field in the case of this administration.
I see what you did there. You said a lot. That's why we love having you on, Richard, by the way. So let's try to unpack this one by one. Okay, Stephen Myron also, by the way, has kind of a dual role in the White House and in the Fed, which I don't think, if we've seen it before, it's probably like in the 20s or 30s. Yeah. And you'll forgive me for my lack of deep Fed history. You can comment on that. But what I'll say, and what I meant by Jerome Powell at the top, Richard, is that this is the first cut that we've had with the PCE and other inflationary measures as high as they are. I think, and Tim can speak for himself, why they called this a, quote, hawkish cut.
Well, again, they do have a dual mandate. Although every president, I don't care if it's Donald Trump or a Democrat or a Republican in history, has always emphasized the employment data. That's where their votes come from. That's why they worry about employment. It's perfectly understandable. And every Fed chairman, even though you have a dual mandate under the modern system, has to worry about inflation/deflation. And I think finding that balance is a very difficult one. But I will not be the least bit surprised if the White House is critical of this decision, because the president's worried about the employment situation. And he also, I think, and this is highly opinionated, forgive me, but he wants to have a scapegoat. His average voter, 60% of his vote came from people without either high school education or less. So that demographic here, when he says, I want rates cut, I understand his politics. And that is those people listening to him who are a little more economically distressed right now than the rest of the 1%, et cetera, hear that and think, my credit card payment, my auto payments, my home payments will go down. As we all know, it doesn't work that way. That's not related to Fed funds. It's related to where the 10-year is trading or where you are further out in the yield curve. So I understand the president's position. I understand the politics of it.
Yeah.
The important thing is that the central bank not hew to that, as Myron appears to be doing, but instead that they do things as objectively as a central bank should do. And let's hope they get it.
Richard, we brought you on for that opinion. So we're glad that you expressed it. Richard, no, seriously, Richard Fisher, thank you.